The rumors were true. Red Bull just fired Christian Horner after 20 years of building one of the most successful teams in the modern era in Formula One.
Red Bull have released Christian Horner.
This morning that Christian Horner has been sacked by Formula One's Red Bull Racing
morning, Christian Horner is to leave Red Bull with immediate effect.
Let that sink in. The guy who built this Red Bull dynasty, who was able to beat Mercedes when nobody could, just gone overnight. And there's a lot to talk about here because Red Bull's official line was that it was performance issues and they wanted a renewal of the team. There's a lot more than that. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? My name is Mars and welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about this Red Bull downfall happening right now with Christian Horner. You and I know very well why Christian Horner was fired. It wasn't just because they wanted a new face and they wanted to improve performance. It's because they're scared of losing Max Verstappen, among many other things that we're going to talk about today. If you watch my previous video, I broke down what's going on between Max Verstappen and Mercedes. There's lots of contract scandals right there, and they're truly scared of losing him. We know very well that Max and Christian didn't have the best relationship nowadays. Max was definitely closer to Helmut Marko, including Jos Verstappen, who also publicly criticized Christian Horner and said that he wanted him out of the team. If we do a quick reality check, yes, Christian Horner is one of the longest lasting team principals in Formula One, a 20-year legacy, a dynasty at Red Bull, who was very successful at many times throughout his career. But right now, that team is fourth in the constructors, a team that just came from winning everything just a year or two ago. The other very important thing that I don't see people in the media talking about is that Max Verstappen has a contract clause that says that if he's not third or higher in the driver standings, then he can leave Red Bull, cancel that contract with Red Bull without an issue, without having to pay those $100 million to cancel that contract and most likely go to Mercedes. So Red Bull is truly panicking, and it makes sense. It's understandable. Christian Horner has been under the scope since those misconduct allegations in 2024. Yes, he was clear, but when it comes to optics or just the looks of the brand, it doesn't look good for Red Bull, and they were losing sponsors. This clearly affected the bottom line at Red Bull. I'm talking about money. And of course, teams need that money for development, for R&D, to create new parts, for engineers, for mechanics, for drivers. And if your team principal is making you lose money, well, you're heading into bankruptcy. Whether that team principal is the best or the worst, it doesn't matter. You need the money to keep the team going. And Christian Horner at this point was definitely not helping with that. Keep in mind that Red Bull has always been like an edgy brand, like energy drink brand, and they were famous for partying and all this and all that, but never scandal driven. Red Bull was known more for partying and having fun, but not really scandals. And ever since the Horner era, they've turned that team into a circus. That's just the truth, which is sad because Red Bull is a team that I like a lot. I saw this coming a while ago, but I thought it was going to be a slow transition to the new team principal, not just overnight, you're gone. But the moment that Adrian Newey left that team, I was like, oh, hold on, this is definitely a big red flag. What is going on here with Red Bull? They just lost their main guy, the guy that creates all of these cars that gives them these championships. I'm not discrediting Max or Christian Horner or Helmut Marko or anyone else, but let's be real. Anywhere that Adrian Newey has gone, the car he's created have been champions after just a few years. And then he creates these dynasty teams that just win over and over and over because of the cars that he is developing. I can definitely see for sure that that was one of the main pieces in this puzzle that led to Christian Horner getting fired. And of course, the biggest one is the fear of losing Max Verstappen, because the truth is that Red Bull is a team built around Max Verstappen and his needs. And if they lose Max to Mercedes, they're not only losing their star driver, they're losing their star driver to the team that's ahead of them in the constructors right now. The other thing that I haven't heard many people in the media talk about, but I think is very important, is that we're going into the 2026 regulations with a brand new car that looks completely different. They're going in without Adrian Newey. They're at very high risk of losing Max. We know very well that these talks are happening between him and Mercedes. They've made it very clear. Red Bull is not looking promising at all from the leaks I've seen for 2026. Mercedes is. So of course they're panicking. They're looking at a team that's going down a downward spiral. They haven't found a proper second driver for that second seat at Red Bull. I'm not saying Yuki is a bad driver or Liam Lawson or any other driver they've put there, but the reality is they just can't seem to get it right. And if you lose Max and your second driver is not fit for that team, then who do you have? You don't have anyone to drive the car. Do I personally think that firing Christian Horner is going to benefit Red Bull? I don't think they're doing their calculations right. I don't think you can just save Red Bull overnight. I think it's going to take about 10 years to rebuild this Red Bull that we remember, just like it happened to every other team. Look at Ferrari. They've been rebuilding for 20 years. But of course, in my opinion, they just handed Mercedes the W because the new team principal is coming from Racing Bulls and he has done a great job there. but he has to adapt to a whole new team that's been having a lot of internal issues from the beginning. So I don't think that Red Bull is going to be successful overnight, and this is going to add even more pressure for Max to leave that team and go to Mercedes. And do I think that Max will go to Mercedes? I think the chances are going up and up little by little. I'm at like 60% right now. Honestly, I think that Red Bull is panicking. I don't think this is going to be good for their bottom line. I don't think this move is going to add cohesion to that team and create some trust in the drivers. I know that Max probably likes this move, but we also know that Max is very closely tied to Helmut Marko, who is about to retire and most likely be replaced by Sebastian Vettel. So going into the 2026 season, we're not only going to see a new car, we're going to see a whole new Red Bull going into it, and we'll see how that goes. I really, if I have to be completely honest with you, I don't know if this is going to work out for them. I hope it does, but also it's the natural cycle of Formula One teams. They come up, they fall down, and then it repeats. All right, before we wrap it up, I want to show you two articles that I read in preparation for this video. One is from the Associated Press, which will give you more of a general glance of what the world of sport in general is seeing about this Red Bull move. And the other one is from motorsport.com, which will give us more of like the culture of F1 fans and how they're reacting to it. Let's start with the Associated Press. The article starts like this. Red Bull fires F1 team principal Christian Horner after 20 title-filled years. Longtime Red Bull team principal Christian Horner was fired abruptly on Wednesday after a 20-year stint that included 8 Formula One drivers' titles and a rise to celebrity status. They don't mention it here, but he also helped Red Bull win 6 Constructors' Championships. Red Bull did not give a reason for the decision in a statement Wednesday, but thanked Horner for his work and said he will forever remain an important part of our team history. It's a nice goodbye, but not the way they did it. To me, it seems like an overnight thing. I don't like how they did this to Christian Horner. Whether you like the guy or not, it's not the proper way to say goodbye to somebody who's been at the team for 20 years and has delivered so many good things. Laurent Mekies of sister team Racing Bulls will replace Horner in his role as chief executive of the Red Bull team. This is Racing Bull's team principal who's now going to be in charge at Red Bull, the guy that I was talking about earlier. From my first race win to 4 world championships, we have shared incredible successes, winning memorable races and breaking countless records. Thank you for everything, Christian. F1 champion Max Verstappen of Red Bull posted on social media. Once again, and let me explain this, I mentioned that Christian Horner and Max Verstappen have known in public beef, but I think that this is a genuine and honest opinion from Max. They're both adults that can separate their differences and recognize that Christian Horner, over those 20 years, ignore the past year or two, has done a good job at Red Bull and managed to give them 8 drivers' titles and 6 constructors. Horner had been a Red Bull team principal since it entered Formula One as a full constructor in 2005. He had performed his team and media duties as normal throughout the British Grand Prix last week. This is very important because this reflects on what I was just talking about, that this is more like an overnight firing. Like, it didn't look at all, at least from what we can see, like he was prepared for this or that they were doing a smooth transition. It was like, all right, you're out, which I personally don't like at all. Let's see what the people at Motorsport are saying about this. How Christian Horner's Red Bull sacking will shake the team and the whole F1 paddock. Christian Horner has helmed the Red Bull F1 team since its inception, and his sacking from the side amid a downturn in performance will have wide-reaching implications. In football, it's become a cliche, but no less true for being repeated, that you're only as good as your last game. Even managers with the most gilded of track records can be, let me Google this. This man hitting us with the big words here. Ignominiously. Okay. Even managers with the most gilded of track records can be ignominiously fired if their team's form slips into a prolonged dip, which is very true. He's drawing this parallel between what usually happens in football or soccer, however you want to call it, and Formula One. And it's very true that Red Bull has recently been acting like a football team, which is not good. Christian Horner's sacking after over 20 years at the helm of Red Bull Racing, during which the team won 6 Constructors' Championships and 8 drivers' titles, is further evidence of what you might term the footballification of Formula One. I really like this insight in what they're talking about here. He's once again using this parallel between the two and creating this term footballification of Formula One, which I think is very interesting. Overall, this could be beneficial to Red Bull in the long run, but I don't like this sudden change. I think they could have done this a whole lot better if they wanted to go ahead with this move. We'll see how it turns out for Red Bull. Let me know your opinion about Red Bull firing Christian Horner and their current situation right now down below in the comments. As always, I'll be reading them and answering all of your comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. You can click right here to subscribe, and you can click right here to watch the next video that I created just for you. Until next time, bye.